What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gamescast, now episode 76, topic 2. I'm Alex. This is our conversational gaming show, a show that airs every other week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, where I talk about random gaming topics. If you guys watched Monday's topic, we talked about The Last of Us Part 2. It was centered around the game possibly coming out around Mother's Day, maybe around June, and then I kind of talked about, well, where could that lead if it doesn't happen? You know, if the game doesn't come out when people have been saying Mother's Day, I have been saying June for a long time. Well, what if it comes out in the fall, which seems to be more and more what we're leaning to? And I talked about, well, does that impact Death Stranding? And that is the game I want to talk about for this topic. Another Sony exclusive, Hideo Kojima, his studio, the studio that Sony has possession of, and Hideo himself that they have possession of. This game obviously has been in the works for a very, very long time. Such a big deal when he left Konami and then Sony signed him, and they're the ones who kind of won the bidding war to get his studio and to get him for their next game and for a Sony exclusive. Now, Death Stranding, when's it coming out? People have been saying many release dates for a long, long time. You know, when this game first came out, one of the main things that was said about this game is it's not releasing for like eons. And people were saying 2020 at the earliest was this game going to come out. What I think, is different from this game, from a lot of even Sony first-party exclusives, is actually the progress that this game has made. It really seems like this game is getting closer and closer and closer. Now, they are very, very cryptic with this game. Obviously, the game itself just looks like I have no clue what's going on, but it's really interesting actually to look up the theories that people already have based on the trailers. It really does seem like a really fascinating game, and a game I'm super, super excited for. But the question is, it looks like it's getting very close to being done. I think they've made more progress on it than a lot of people would give them credit to for like a couple of years ago. I think a couple of years ago, people would be like, well, you know what, he's going to take his time. It's going to take like 6 years. It really hasn't. It's only taken like 3, and at this point, I feel like this game is just about finished. So the question is, when is this game releasing? I think I made a video about this maybe around a year ago talking about the same thing, but I wanted to revisit it because this game seems and screams to me a 2019 game. Now, they have Hideo Kojima, they have this studio, and rumor has it, and this is a couple weeks ago that I'm recording this when you guys are watching this, but it's been in the rumor for a while that Sony has talked to all of their first-party teams or anybody who's licensed through them, and the games that they're making now, that they're completely switched over to PS5 games. Now, this is quite obvious, and I think this is obvious. It's something that needs to happen. You need your Guerrilla studio, you need your Sony Santa Monica, you need all of these studios that are even making games. I think even like a Naughty Dog, you gotta think all of their next projects are PS5. The studios that finished Insomniac, that finished Spider-Man, even Ghost of Tsushima with Sucker Punch, all of these studios are now going to transition to PS5. What am I saying this for? Well, you have to think about the future too. You can't just think about Death Stranding. You can't just think about The Last of Us Part 2. What happened, and it's the exact same thing I said for The Last of Us. Death Stranding needs to come out, in my opinion, as early as you can get it out. Now, I'm not a fan of rushing games. I'm actually a fan of delaying games. I've always been very supportive of studios who delay games as long as it's for the right reason and as long as it's not like an insane amount of time for something really dumb. So for Death Stranding, take your time, do what you have to do, but at the same time, you have to think about the PS5, and you have to think that you still have Hideo Kojima in your pocket making exclusive games for you. You're going to want a game from him on the PS5 early on in the PS5 lifecycle. You need all of and to be quite honest, you need every studio firing their best game as quickly as you can on PS5 because they are really going to have some competition from Xbox. I 100% believe that. Microsoft knows they completely bombed the Xbox One. They know they lost this console war by a long shot, way more than Sony quote-unquote lost, even though they actually ended up outselling the Xbox 360. PS3 actually outsold it. But that doesn't matter for the console wars that it was. But when you're looking at this next one, Microsoft knows they have to come out swinging. So I expect a lot of very, very big things from them. They have a lot of first parties. They've bought a lot of studios. You have to think they're really going to have a lot of games ready to come out within that first 12 to 18 months of the Xbox 2 or whatever the heck it's called, right? Sony needs the same thing. And if you have games like The Last of Us, like Days Gone, like Ghost of Tsushima, like Death Stranding, you have all of these games coming out at the very end of the PS4. Yes, you're still making incredible games, and I have no doubt those games will probably be better than a lot of those Microsoft exclusives that come out within the first year of the next generation. Doesn't matter how good it looks, but at the same time, you need more exclusives for your next console. So, the earlier you get Death Stranding running out, the faster Hideo Kojima can start making a PS5 game, is basically what I'm saying. What does this mean? When do I think it's coming out? I still believe this game is a 2019 game. I think this game is a fall of 2019 game. Ghost of Tsushima, I don't see being ready. And I've talked about the structured kind of release that Sony needs to have with these games. And so far, I think they've done a really, really nice job with separating all of their games. Last year, we had a really nice separation. We had Shadow Colossus, we had Detroit, we had God of War. That was in opposite order. And we had Spider-Man. But they were all spaced out. You gave them like a month or two. And obviously, Spider-Man was that big game for fall. But they also had partnerships with Call of Duty like they always do and Red Dead like they always do. So, they had those separation of months, and you got to be able to really experience their exclusive game. And last year, what was it really? What people say? It was really the year of PlayStation, year of single-player games, because 3 of the 4, I think, bigger games of the year, Detroit, God of War, Spider-Man, are all PlayStation exclusives. So I think they need to do this year is the exact same thing. I think they really need to look at it and say, well, we need to space these games out. You got the Days Gone coming out at the end of April. That's really, really good. You got to keep that there. Then you got Crash Bandicoot Team Racing, which isn't a Sony exclusive, but it's a game that's going to be heavily relied on Sony, considering Crash came from a PlayStation platform. All right, that's a slower first half of the year. But then if you can sandwich it with the ending of the year being Death Stranding and The Last of Us Part 2, that is a really big thing. And that's what I think they're shooting for. I think they're shooting for 1 month in the fall, maybe September or October. You get the first one, maybe Last of Us, and then the other month, October or November, you get Death Stranding. That's what I think that they're going for. That's what I think they hope that the studios are ready for. Again, I'm not a fan of rushing studios. If Death Stranding comes out in 2020, it comes out in 2020, but it's got all the signs to me, although people aren't talking about it as much as The Last of Us. I feel like Death Stranding is close to, if not the exact same amount worked on and finished as The Last of Us Part 2, which is weird because I don't think people expected that, but it really does seem like that's what's going on. I think a lot of people expect Death Stranding to release in 2019, same as The Last of Us. Both these games really should release this year. If they don't, I believe and we haven't gotten any release dates. We never got where Sony wanted them to come out, but in my honest opinion, if these 2 games or one of these 2 games doesn't come out in 2019, I will go out and say that internally it was delayed. Something went wrong, they planned it wrong, and it was delayed. But we'll have to see. So guys, let me know in the comments below, Death Stranding, when do you think it's coming out? Do you think it's still in 2019? In the fall? How do you think it works with The Last of Us? All that stuff, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys are notified when all of our videos go up. Again, these topics of Gamescast Now go up every other week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you on Saturday's topic.